Head on down to the river's edge on the Broadway side of town. There's a baker there, an apothecary, and the people gather around. I may be walking through the snow, but the people keep me warm. It's a place that I come back to, where I know I'm always home. I've been down on Broadway, hanging around on Broadway. Fresh fruit from the farmer's market, new grooves from a local artist. I can tell my community's thriving, no doubt innovative and inspiring me. We've been down on Broadway, hanging around on Broadway. We got a bread maker and a chocolatier away, tea expert and a wine lounge here, florist, barista, an active cyclist, add ethnic food and fine dining to that list. On jewelry, brewery, salons and spas, photography, vinyls and good pizza, beauticians and barbers, musicians and artists. If you want to know where the heart is, all I can say is I've been down on Broadway, hanging around on Broadway. We've been down on Broadway, hanging around on Broadway. So head on down to the river's edge on the Broadway side of town. You just might find a few people there that you want to be around. I can tell by the way it's moving that you want to be down on Broadway, down on Broadway.
Good morning, everyone. Wasn't that phenomenal? Let's give another round of applause. I'm Barb Fleisner with New North, but here today wearing my On Broadway hat. I'm an avid volunteer and chair of this year's board. I want to really start by recognizing, we can get rid of that picture. Let's go to real important stuff, right? All those crow's feet, but I've earned every single one of them. I think that video is just really a testament to the type of talent that we have within our community, and seeing the collection of all the various businesses on Broadway, and also really infusing the arts. We know to have a very strong downtown, you need that place, the gathering, right? And speaking of the gathering, let's give Tommy and his team a round of applause for that phenomenal breakfast. That bacon was absolutely amazing. I know it's Fat Tuesday, and so I wore my big Thanksgiving dress so I could just keep eating, and so no, I think it's really the infusion of the arts, and Brian and his team, which you'll get to hear more about all the phenomenal projects that are happening right here with On Broadway. But it it starts with really having businesses, right? Having owners of properties that are willing to invest in a community. So let's give all of the business and business owners a round of applause. In our New North district, which covers 18 counties, we have 9 Main Street communities, and those are recognized by the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. There are various rules that have to be met in order to maintain that Main Street designation. We have 22 Connect communities, and those are kind of Main Street lights. They're working their way to be an official Main Street communities. I would say out of all of them, however, they look to Brian and his team on the On Broadway to be able to gather ideas and thoughts. As our granddaughter, Piper, who was with us over the weekend, would remind me, Grandma, sharing is caring, right? And that's what Main Streets are all about. We all learn from one another and take ideas that are working in one, how we can retrofit them into other communities to make us all stronger. Speaking of sharing is caring, I certainly want to acknowledge organizations that also share, and they share in a big way to support many endeavors and particular events on Broadway. We want to thank our presenting sponsor of this event, American National Bank, and thank you to our other sponsors, Creative Results, Apex Real Estate Team, Pedal Pushers, Procter & Gamble, Badgerland Badge and Sign, Shoreline Hometown Credit Union, Board and Brush, Copper State Brewing Company, Harmonic Productions, Black Magic Marketing Company, and Gather. We'll start out this morning's presentation with a few words from Paul Northway, the President and CEO of American National Bank, Fox Cities. We thank you for your investment and your bank's presence right here in the On Broadway District. So we have a short video to run for you.
Good morning. My name is Paul Northway, and I'm the President and CEO of American National Bank. We are proud to once again sponsor the State of the Broadway District. I'm sorry I cannot be there today, but would like to kick the morning off with a few thoughts. Our bank is celebrating our 30th anniversary this year. We are proud to have spent the past 30 years supporting small businesses in Northeast Wisconsin. Sponsoring events like this and having an office in the Broadway District really resonates with our purpose of helping business owners beat the odds. Small business and entrepreneurship are at the core of our downtown districts. Communities are only as strong as their downtown. Let's face it, downtowns are cool places where people can gather to eat and drink, shop local, and be entrepreneurial. They are districts that foster innovation, collaboration, and diversity. Art and music come to life in our downtowns as people from all walks of life come together to enjoy their community and all that it has to offer. Community banks are the fuel and the opportunity to make our communities stronger. I want to encourage you to support your locally owned and headquartered financial institutions and bank local. I will close by applauding On Broadway for their commitment to continuing to improve the downtown experience, as well as thanking the countless volunteers for bringing great ideas to reality. Keep up the incredible work. I look forward to seeing many of you at some of the events this year. Enjoy the day.
Thank you so much. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Mayor Genrich up to the stage. Mayor is certainly no stranger to any of us. He is a strong supporter of downtown communities, and we very much appreciate your direction, your guidance, and your involvement. So let's give a round of applause for Mayor Genrich.
Well, thanks so much, Barb, for the introduction, and thanks for having me here this morning. It's always such a great day to kick things off in the Broadway District in this way. And for me, it's it's a little bit early, I guess, but it feels like spring's right around the corner. So the way that I was thinking about it is like, it's kind of like Groundhog's Day. Brian wakes up, he sees his shadow. We're going to get one more massive snowstorm, but then just a couple more weeks of winter and then on to spring. So to me, it's really kind of a great way to enter into the spring season that's just around the corner here. So I'm optimistic about that. I'm also really optimistic about the trajectory that On Broadway is on and the partnership that we've developed from the City of Green Bay's perspective with them, with downtown Green Bay, also with Leah over on military. Our business improvement districts are really key to the success of our community here in Green Bay, and I think that partnership has just gotten stronger over the last few years and will continue to build. And as I was coming in this morning, I took the Mason Street Bridge, and so just kind of got a nice view of what's to come here within the district, and got off the bridge, started headed north, and to the right we see all the cranes in the shipyard district and all the public improvements underway there, which I'm sure Brian will touch on. Just to the left is the old Badger sheet metal building. We've got a term sheet there with Impact 7 and hoping to really formalize that in the near future. So 200 plus apartment homes to come. Mentioned the shipyard district public improvements, another 200 apartment homes there. Moving north here through this section, of course, we've got the new public market that is going to be really, really exciting, not just for our community here, but is going to be a major regional destination and statewide destination, I think, for folks that are enjoying this community. The city has partnered with On Broadway for a $500,000 facade improvement grant to improve that structure, and then obviously continuing north into the rail yard district, all the work that Paul and his team and all the fantastic business owners have done there. The fort is under construction after a few starts and stops. We're really excited to see some work being done there. Within the last, I think, month or so, we cut a ribbon on PTI's new location within the rail yard. So just a ton of momentum that has been accrued as a result of a lot of people doing a lot of great work. And that starts here with On Broadway, Brian and his team, and all of the business owners and organizations that are represented here. So again, just really thrilled to be able to share the morning with you, to enjoy the celebration. We've got a lot of good things to come, and looking forward to continue pushing forward on all of those fronts. One last note, it's Election Day, so go vote. All right, have a great one.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you. Speaking of sharing is caring, there are envelopes on your table, and many of you have heard me say this before. No money, no mission, right? So it does take funds to be able to do the things that the mayor just talked about, and Brian will go into a little bit more detail. So we have a little incentive for you. So if you are so inclined, and thank you in advance, to fill out that envelope. The phenomenal On Broadway team will be walking around and picking those up prior to the end of the event. And there will be a drawing for the block of cheese that's being carved over in the corner. Our very talented Casey Earl Krieger is carving a 42-pound block of cheese. So I love my cheese. My husband bought me this towel, kitchen towel, and it had this chubby face gal with reddish blonde hair on it, and she was looking through a piece of Swiss cheese, and so the eyes were poking through the holes, and it said on the bottom, blank, I love cheese. So I'll let you fill in that blank part. So Grandma has to hide that towel when Piper comes over, so keep it PG. So please make sure that you also, it's a good reminder too, today is also Give Back Green Bay, so we hope our hearts are filled about paying it forward. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you our executive director, our leader, Brian Johnson. Brian has been with On Broadway. It's hard to believe. It was May of 16 already. He is also an alderman with the city of Green Bay. And I think what we all know about Brian is his passion to bring ideas to the community and not being afraid to try new things. What you're going to hear about it starts with a leader. And so I can't say enough great things about Brian's vision, his energy, and his will to succeed. So please help me welcome Brian to the stage.
All right, test. Can you guys hear me? Good? All right. I don't know about you guys, but 42 pounds of cheese would do, we got to find a better incentive for next year. So, all right. Welcome, everybody, to the annual State of the Broadway District. I have a bet with my staff. I have 30 minutes. If I go over 30 minutes, I have to buy them a nice dinner somewhere. If I stay under 30 minutes, they have to pool their money to buy just me a nice dinner. So now that I've wasted 15 seconds telling you that, let's get to it. We like to start every year by reminding everybody about what our mission is. There's On Broadway as the organization, and then there's Broadway District as a space, a geographic place where it's comprised of a lot of businesses and nonprofit organizations in public spaces that we try to curate and program and do different things with. So of course our mission is about promoting the Broadway District as Green Bay's cultural core for entrepreneurs, creatives, residents, and visitors to engage and succeed in a welcoming environment. And we couldn't do that without all of your help and support. We talk about our core values, the why we exist, the what, the how, and our 5 core values. What's interesting is these core values have existed, I think, now for about 8 or 9 years. And that should be the case. Your core values typically don't change over time. And so we are very, very committed to these, and we certainly do our best every single day. One of my favorite ones on this is Plus the District, and it's always recognizing you've kind of got the bare minimum that you can do. What is the plus one that you're going to do? Whether it's a staff member, a board member, a volunteer, we always want folks to be plugged in terms of what we're doing to improve the district. I always like to start with a little base here. Barb mentioned this. We are a designated Main Street community. We're nationally accredited. These are the accredited programs throughout the state of Wisconsin. So there's On Broadway, the organization. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And then there's the Broadway Business Improvement District. That is a separate board of directors by state statute, but we work very closely with them. And they're the ones that oversee the bid assessments on our property owners. We are a Wisconsin Main Street program, and by virtue of that, we are also part of Main Street America. So this is, generally speaking, the geographic footprint that we're talking about. We are the west side of the river, as you can see there. If you think about Mather Street or Velp Avenue to the north, and then, of course, down to the south, Mason Street is where the district goes, roughly Ashland Avenue. So this is the 4-point approach that we follow. This has been revised by the National Main Street program. But broadly speaking, and whether you're an accredited Main Street program or even downtown Green Bay and Old Main, who's part of a different organization, they follow very similar principle. They just use different words. But economic vitality, design, meaning your streetscape design, your urban design, your built environment, organization, and promotion. And so we like to kind of set the stage for that, and then we go through some of our vision and our accomplishments over the past year, categorized around those 4 broad points. So the first thing is organization. You have to have, obviously, a really good staff, a really good board of directors. Your volunteers are engaged. You're financially viable. You have great partners that extend throughout your community. And so I'd like to just take a moment here. On Broadway staff, could you please just stand for a hot second? Oh, back in the corner there. Yep. So. I've been around a lot of teams in my life, and I will tell you, this is a really, really phenomenal team that works incredibly hard for the district. There's really no incentive for them to go beyond 9 to 5, yet every single one of them does it. And they do it with grace and commitment and passion, and I really enjoy being able to work with this team every single day. Maple, by far, is the most committed of the group. But really, we do have a great team, and I would echo that same sentiment for our board of directors. If you are a member of the On Broadway board of directors, if I could just ask you to stand real quickly as well and be acknowledged. Okay. I know a few of these folks could not be here today, but again, a very, very committed and thoughtful group of individuals that helps us navigate very difficult situations sometimes, but is also very forward-looking in terms of the types of projects that they've been support of. So the first thing we want to start with is volunteer engagement, and of course we're going to talk about this a little bit more later today, but collectively as an organization we have over 2,300 volunteer hours committed to the district this year. That can be anything from painting garbage cans and benches to picking up trash to volunteering at events. They really do it all, and they do a lot of stuff. That economic value is over $70,000 a year to our organization and to the district as a whole, and so we're very grateful for every hour that these folks put in. I want to give a quick shout out to Sophia. Where's Sophia? Right, look, she is going to be late to school today because she wanted to come experience this event, and she volunteers and helps us do some really great things, and so I think it's worthwhile to engage them while they're young, so thank you for being here today. Okay, so organization wouldn't be organization without at least disclosing our financials. I know our annual report will be in the grab bag that you take out today, but this just shows, broadly speaking, again, we categorize our revenue into certain buckets as well as our expenses, but then we also further categorize those into sources of support and then their uses of support. As you can see, 83.6% of the revenue that we earn as an organization goes directly back into services. And so we're very proud of that. That is a very good ratio for those who are familiar with working in the nonprofit sector. And our sources of support, I really want to acknowledge our staff for the hard work that they've done to really grow the level of investment that's come into our organization. Additionally, with organization, a lot of times we talk about how folks oftentimes are in decision-making positions even though they've never left our community. And so it's really helpful for us to do these study trips. We've partnered with downtown Green Bay. We did one this year to Grand Rapids, and that was a really good opportunity for our organizations to work together, but more importantly, to visit with folks in those communities to learn best practices. What are you doing that really works, and what can we replicate? Grand Rapids, by the way, a community that is not much larger than Green Bay. Of course, they have really some investments there from some family wealth that has helped them do different things. But we can replicate a lot of what they do, from public art initiatives to being able to take back the streets more for pedestrian use. As you can see, they found a way here to really have outdoor seasons all year long. But sometimes it's learning what not to do. And this is a great photo on the right-hand side. They have the largest commercial test kitchen in their public market in the entire state of Michigan. And we looked around at that as we've been exploring what to do with our public market. And we said, you know what? We don't want that. So sometimes that's just as valuable when you do these study trips. Richmond, the National Main Street Conference was hosted in Richmond, and some of our staff go to this. It's a really great opportunity to learn from other practitioners throughout the country. Everything from what does a raised planting bed look like to how you take a dilapidated old space and turn it into something that's artistic and fun when you go on a walk. It's one of the biggest things you talk about when creating walkable cities is you need to make that walk interesting. And they did a really great job of their riverfront and their waterfront there in terms of how people access that. Ours is a little bit more challenging because obviously the Fox River is so wide. The east side of the river has, I think, some really great opportunities long term when you start to look at the East River. In Pittsburgh, parking ramps don't have to be disgusting and ugly, right? You can put lights on them and do different things and make them really attractive. And of course, more public art. How do you access a vacant lot on the right-hand side there and just make it an interesting space for people to be? We did that a couple years ago when we took a vacant lot. We converted it into just a pocket park, and the kids from the daycare would go in there every single day and play. And now this year we're looking at that same piece of land, and we want to do a pop-up dog park. I'm not responsible for that pun, but we're recognizing as more of the residential housing units take interest in our district, so many people have dogs. I think it's 65% of people in the country have dogs. And our dogs, we have one dog park in the entire city of Green Bay. So how can we take a really low cost, low barrier to entry and create an opportunity for folks that take, creative space, but also has a functional use. And then we did Pittsburgh. This is part of the Chamber of Commerce. They have a downtown task force, and so several folks from our organization, community members, broadly speaking, as well as downtown Green Bay, went to Pittsburgh. And here again, you can see more art, more ways to leverage that in development, but how you can use the street in really creative ways. You can have, you can park 3 cars there. For the record, these tables were full. When I took this picture, they were empty. But you can have 3 cars there, or you can have those tables filled with, 20 people sitting there and enjoying and making purchases within those businesses. Government relations was a really big piece of what we've been doing this past year. There have been some really good funding opportunities that have been available through the American Rescue Plan Act. Of course, the governor had been here a couple of times to talk with our businesses and the direct lifeline that they were able to provide to a number of our businesses through the pandemic. And of course, they like to do the tours and see the results of those investments. And then we were really fortunate. We had 3 gubernatorial secretaries that visited our district in 2 days, all driven and attracted by the public market market and the additional development and momentum that's being curated through that. And so we had WEDA, Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, as well as the Department of Administration. We're all here to learn, again, from our businesses as well as what's going on in the district as a whole, because quite frankly, they're hearing it. They're hearing that something is happening in Green Bay that is very special, and we want to learn from that, and we want to be able to bring that message to other communities throughout the state. So the next pillar is design. Design encompasses a number of things. Of course, public art you're going to see as an emphasis because it is a key priority of ours, but also it includes historic preservation. It includes streetscape enhancements. And so when you kind of broadly speak of that, let's start with murals. Our Mural and Busker Festival was in its second year this year, and we added another 10 murals to the district. There were a couple of other private murals that were also added. These are just a sampling of 4 of those. And then here's another 4. In particular, this one on the bottom left, I want to call out and recognizing, that even though in our community, there's a history that predates most of us in this room, and so we really wanted to honor and recognize that. And so we reached out to Menominee Nation as well as Oneida, and we had an artist that came in and worked with the Oneida tribe in particular to do this piece. And so we were really excited to have that other history, that was here before us, really represented in some of our public art. And again, just some more photos. So this is, again, the second year we did this event. We're up to 20 murals now. We're going to head into this year with 10 more, which is really exciting. This one really in a high-profile location by Bo Thomas, that if you look closely at the letters, it incorporates something unique and distinct about the district in each of those letters. And this one, if you get an opportunity, I encourage you to check it out. It's right on the back of this building, behind Gather. The intricacy and the detail on this one is really, really phenomenal. And so really encourage you to check it out. That's why I wanted it on its own slide, because I think it really needs to kind of show itself that way. It's been a while since we've done the benches and trash cans, and a lot of times folks look at that, and again, it's about how you make that walk interesting, and how do you, when you invite people to sit down on a bench or encourage them to put their trash in a receptacle and not on the ground, how do you draw people into that? And so our volunteers did an amazing job with giving those a refresh because the rust was starting to show. Pole banners were installed this year. Typically, you like to do these every couple of years. Same deal here. If you guys look around, there's actually 5 different designs on these, even though they're all of a similar brand. The black and white icons on the top actually reflect something unique and distinct about the district. And then we did a couple of sculptures. Now, sculptures are incredibly expensive. If you're not aware, I think of the Embark sculpture that was donated by We Energies on the east side of the river. That was a $100,000 sculpture. So we said, look, we don't have that kind of budget, but we think that art can be experienced in different ways. So how can we do, lower bar to entry with some of that? And we combine it with some of our events, like the cars on top were actually painted during Ignite Market. We're like, you know what, we'll throw them out there for a year. My favorite part about these cars, by the way, Mayor, it's okay. We're going to share this. These things got a parking ticket. I was with the mayor in Pittsburgh actually when I got that text, and I said, no, we're not paying that. Casey, who's doing the cheese block on the side, he actually did this one on the bottom left here, and that is a kinetic or a mobile sculpture. So encourage you to go check that one out too. The tree boxes, we maintain these. These have been a challenge. It's not all flowers all the time, right? And so sometimes you got to talk about challenges that you have, and these tree boxes have been really difficult to take root. And so we're using pollinator plants right now. It still takes several years to fill in, but I think we've got a good plan and a good strategy for that right now. And of course, the planter bowls, one of my favorite times of year. Every year we work with Encompass, and the kids come out and they all get their hands dirty and plant, and it's kind of fun to watch. And of course, we invest a lot of money in lighting. There's the lighting that you see now, and then during the holiday season, we try to spruce it up a little bit. Lighting is another really expensive thing, and so we're continuing to work on different ways that we can enhance that. Now this, to most people, kind of boring, yawn, but to us, this was exciting. These little electrical boxes that you see here, we were able to work with the city and leverage some additional funding through a closing TIF district to put in new electrical boxes because previously those boxes really only existed in that 2-block core of the district that we're in right now. And so we were able to extend that to the north and to the south a little bit. And that, of course, is what's going to allow us to do more lighting and other seasonal decor that requires electrical power. So again, exciting thing to us because these are expensive investments to make, but the long-term impact is really, really important. Same with light poles. So you see these, the traffic poles, again, not sexy to most people, but lighting is really important to a district. And so we were able to use some more of those TIF district funds to bring in light poles, new fixtures, pedestrian level fixtures, and to create some more cohesion with the lighting throughout all of downtown. So the east side has very similar fixtures, and so we were able to replace some of the old, kind of worn out and tired poles that we had throughout the corridor. First impressions continues to be a really important piece of what we do. Quincy, who runs our volunteer program, really does a great job with getting individuals engaged. Picking up trash, not fun and not sexy, but boy, when you don't pick up trash, it's noticeable. And so we're really grateful for the team of volunteers that come out and help us keep things looking fresh and clean all the time, but also they help with seasonal decor items as well. Everything from, putting up Christmas trees and planting flowers and pulling weeds. Facade improvements, that's part of design. So design, we talk about streetscape, but also it's about the buildings. And so we had a number of facade improvements made throughout the district. Bay Area Burger is just one example. There were several others throughout the year, and we're very grateful for the city who had invested some funding, both block grant dollars as well as now ARPA, to really help businesses pay for some of these, partially subsidize some of these, to get folks to kind of stretch a little bit and do some historically appropriate facade improvements. So on the design side as well, the Hubbard Street corridor, we just received a tech grant from the state for this, which will allow us to hire a consultant to reimagine what that corridor looks like. So this is my really crude drawing on the left side here that's highlighted. If you think about, we call it the Red Sculpture Park, the little pocket park that's out here. There's a restrictive covenant on that lot, meaning that we can't build on it. So we've talked about as a team, and this is actually part of the downtown authenticity plan as well as the Broadway District plan. How do we better utilize that space? And we said, what if we extended it a little bit to Hubbard Street, but more importantly, all the way down to the railroad tracks? So the thing about the railroad company, if you're not aware, it's really hard to get railroad crossings, especially at the pedestrian level. So when you have one, which we do right there, you want to take really good care of it, and you'd like it to be more functional than what it currently is. And so we're able to hire a consultant to imagine what this looks like. Think of a public plaza, because this Hubbard Street nub, I call it, I mean, it really doesn't go anywhere, right? So can we use that space more effectively for people? Or could you even preserve some traffic? And so the images that you see on the right are meant to get you to think a little bit. If you're not familiar with the term Woonerf, it's a Dutch term that talks about streets that are both actively designed and planned for not only that's a tough word, vehicular traffic, as well as pedestrian use. So could this be a space that maybe you close down for programmed activity, but still allows cars to pass when you need it to? And so it is something that we're going to be working on. The tech grant is going to fund part of it. The Business Improvement District agreed to fund part of it. But also I want to, again, express gratitude to the city. Through the ARPA allocation, we were able to secure some funding to hire an urban design position for downtown Green Bay, and then they're going to look at all of downtown holistically. But that position is funded for the next 3 years and will also help us guide some of these design positions. As we've done those study trips, one thing that we learned from all of those communities, those that excel have somebody committed and focused on urban design work. And we do not have that here in the city of Green Bay. Our city staff is wonderful, but they are stretched so thin on projects throughout the entire city that we're really looking forward to having somebody committed exclusively to the downtown area so that we can take advantage of opportunities like this when they come about. Promotion is the next pillar. Promotion includes events and how you program things and bring foot traffic to your district, but it also includes marketing and the way that you brand your corridor. And so special events, Allie and Betsy in our organization in particular are responsible for our special events. We did over 40 events this year that attracted approximately 400,000 attendees to the district. These are folks that sometimes events are designed to get people into storefronts and do some shopping, and we have a couple that do that really well. Other times it's just about having an active and vibrant space. Nobody wants to come to a place that's always dead. right? So you just want to see activity on the streets. And that's really important to convey that message of, hey, this is a really cool happening place. We invite you to come down even on off hours. Of course, some of our bigger events, Maryland Busker Festival, Fire Over the Fox. A lot of folks don't realize this. On Broadway is responsible for the 4th of July event when you come down here. And so, of course, we can't do that in a silo. The city is a great partner, and they provide a lot of the services. But we are responsible for the coordination around that event. The Ignite Markets have been a great success to really showcase arts in our community and get some of that work implemented elsewhere. A lot of folks ask about Taste on Broadway. That event is still on hiatus. I put it on here because we do get asked a lot. We're not sure yet this year. As you can imagine, the hospitality industry is really under a lot of pressure right now with staffing. And so there hasn't been a big appetite, no pun intended. There hasn't been a big appetite. That was for you, Randy. Yeah, to bring that back. But we're going to continue to work with them, and when the time is right, we'll revisit that event. This is exciting for us, 20th anniversary of Farmers Market on Broadway. So 20 years of making an impact down here, and Allie's going to talk about it a little bit more, so I don't want to steal her thunder on that. More so just want to acknowledge how much this event has grown over the years. Chris Kindle Market was something new that we did this year. This was a pilot program. We received a GEM grant, which is a joint effort marketing grant from the state of Wisconsin, tourism grant from the city. This blew away our expectations. We said, look, can we put out 10 tents, a little bit of programming, and track people down here? And we had over 10,000 visitors that came down for this. And a lot of these folks were in the shopping mood, so this was our hope, of course, as you get them down here during the holiday season. They spill over into all of our other businesses. We calculated over a $300,000 impact, and now we are starting to look at what does 23 look like. We're working with a few partners about building permanent chalets. When I say permanent, meaning like for the season, they're more wooden chalets that would still be disassembled in the off season and stored away. But it's really about how can you grow that in a meaningful way and get people active in the winter. We don't see enough of that around here. And winter activation can occur, as we learned in Grand Rapids. High Five was a new event that we did this year. When we couldn't do Taste on Broadway, which historically has been one of our biggest fundraisers, we knew we needed to plug that budget gap somehow. And so we did this High Five. It was meant to be 5 courses on the 5th floor on the rooftop deck of the former Baycare building over here. And so it was really great event. We so appreciative of the chefs that participated. Chris from 335, I know Jill from Gather, Tony from Shifusion, Amphora, and I'm missing one. Kavarna, yes, thank you. And so they were really great partners to help us host this event, and the reviews were incredible. I think just a lot of times when you have dormant spaces, as this deck has been for many years, people are just excited to see it used in a different way. And so kudos to the staff for pulling that together because it was, I thought, a really neat experience. Something new that you will see coming up now is the Levitt Amp Green Bay Music Series. Yeah, woo! So kudos to all of you who obviously had to vote to get us here because Levitt wants to know that there's broad community buy-in and support for these. And what I love about it this time compared to when we had it in 2019, this is a 3-year agreement. In 2019, it was a 1-year agreement. So this is what's going to allow us to have some traction. Allie's already assembled a committee and has been working on that. And this is about how do you reach culturally diverse communities within the city of Green Bay. If there's one thing we recognize, it's music brings people together. And I love the story and the history behind Levitt. Mortimer Levitt, the namesake of the foundation, when he grew up in New York, he was very poor, and yet he didn't have money to go do things. But there was a free concert series near his home where he'd go, and he got to listen to music for free. It was the only thing that really brought him joy growing up as a child, or so the story is told. And so when he was successful in his later years, he created this foundation to bring music to underserved populations and communities throughout the country. And so we're very grateful to be able to bring that here this year. Earned media, this can't be oversold, folks. Earned media, we do 250 stories a year. Brooke, our marketing director, is really responsible for generating that. In one example, the Maryland Busker Festival generated over 9 million impressions with over a $54,000 impact. So being able to talk about the district as a place to be, a destination space, is really important, and earned media helps us tell that story. Our social media reach has over 1 million impressions every single year. Destination marketing, something that we do. We were a recipient of a destination marketing organization grant from the state. I mentioned the GEM grant and the tourism grants. But with that funding, we do direct ad buys, direct spends. We secure a couple $100,000 a year in in-kind promotion. We do things like Small Business Saturday, 12 Days of Christmas, that really get people down here and thinking about the district as a place to shop. Additionally, we partner with Discover Green Bay and travel writers. They do a great job with sourcing out the travel writers, and we get to host them while they're down here in the Broadway District. It's almost always during farmers market. They love to tell that story, and then they go and write about us. And there's calculations that you can do to determine what that value is. But they go back to their respective publications, and they talk about what a great place Green Bay is to visit. And then, of course, that always converts into visitors. We also hosted Discover Wisconsin. They did a really nice little bit while they were here. All right, the last pillar, economic vitality. This was the groundbreaking of the shipyard, which was a really great day for us. We're going to hit that in a little bit. But we had 23 new businesses open in the district this year. And I should provide this disclaimer, folks. This is not an inclusive list. This is not an inclusive presentation. I could sit up here for hours and talk about all of the great things. We just try to hit as many of the highlights that we can. But some really good businesses that span everything from office space to restaurants and retailers, paper transport over in the rail yard. And I want to thank those guys, Josh and Paul and Brent, for everything they've been doing over there, because the rail yard has really been the anchor of a lot of the growth in our district. They've added a lot of real estate, a lot of commercial space has moved in there, and a lot of office users, which brings people down here. When you have people eat at restaurants, they shop at stores, and so that's been really exciting to see. And so as you can see from this very, very short list, it's very diverse grouping of growth. Even New Community Clinic, who built a new building over on Broadway, and UWGB, we've been talking about a university presence for a long, long time. They are now offering some programs inside of the urban hub, and that's been exciting to get them down here. We'd let someday, maybe we hope to get them in a building down here, but you got to learn to crawl before you learn to walk. And so we're excited. And the Bounce Back grant from the state of Wisconsin was really a great lifeline to help us fill some of these vacant spaces that emerged during the pandemic. We definitely were one of the leaders in the pack statewide in terms of getting Broadway District businesses to benefit from that Bounce Back grant, which, if you weren't familiar, was a $10,000 grant if you signed at least a one-year lease on a vacant space. And in fact, we're creating a model after that locally for our bid is supporting a grant program that's going to target retailers. And so we're going to experiment and pilot with that this year. And if that goes well, we hope that we can fund more of it into the future. LiveX is a really cool story. These guys are based out of New York, but Corey, the owner, has some roots here in Wisconsin. If you're not familiar, I mean, you guys have all seen the New York Times ball drop on New Year's Eve, right? Okay, well, that comes through Green Bay. Those guys do the live broadcast on that. I'm probably going to use all the wrong words, but that's done out of a control room right here in Green Bay, Wisconsin now. And I just think that is such a cool story. And they do a lot of other things too. But this space, they put over $2 million into this space over in the rail yard. And it is a beautiful space. Sean, can you raise your hand? Sean's with LiveX. And one of the things... Yep. Sean is available and would love to talk to you afterwards. If you would like a tour of this space, doesn't have to be today, anytime. If you want a tour of this space, please seek out Sean after the event, and he will work with you to go get a tour. Trust me, it's worth it. It's a really cool space to see. Now, you can't have all these successes, 23 new businesses, without saying goodbye. And that is always a really hard part, and it is really challenging. And of course, this is not an inclusive list, but there were some longtime staples like The Gift itself, who's one of the first businesses to make an investment here. Rachel, the owner there, moved to Door County, and so she wasn't able to continue. Exclusive Company, of course, the owner passed away, and a couple others here. But saying goodbye is always hard and difficult, especially from folks who were invested from the very beginning. But we're very grateful for the time that they spent with us here in the district, and we look forward to the next generation of businesses that get to occupy their spaces. Housing, really important piece. We've talked about this for years, and some of this may seem redundant, but it's important because large-scale housing development takes time. I don't get to talk about it one year and have it be complete the next. And so the Broadway Lofts was 107 units that were recently constructed, and they are fully occupied now. I'm not looking at you, Brooke. She's giving me the shepherd's hook. The Ford at the rail, I guess someone's getting dinner. The Ford at the rail yard. All right, we've all heard the jokes, right? Green Bay Stonehenge, but folks, this is the perfect example of why large-scale development is really hard. This was a COVID-impacted project, and sometimes things happen that are out of your control. But the developers, including TWG, who is really going to be the owner of this project, base companies, the city of Green Bay, they all got in a room, they put their heads together, and they had to work out a new capital stack to figure out how to make this project work after its original sources of funding were no longer available. It is hard. You don't just walk into a bank and take out a loan for these types of projects. And so we are so thrilled and excited, though, as you can see from the photos on top, that this is under construction again, and they're making quick progress. A lot of these walls were built off-site, and I think you're going to see this go up very quickly, and ultimately you're going to see that product that's down there on the bottom. That's 238 units, and residential density is the thing that's been missing in downtown Green Bay for so long, and as you're going to see from a number of these slides, that is quickly doing a course correction. Merge Urban Development is on the site of the shipyard. They're 225 units. We're going to have a revised development agreement with them shortly. They just have to reverse the order of the buildings from what they originally proposed, because you've got some soils over there that still need to settle. You may recall that was in the floodplain, so we had to bring in, I think, 6-10 feet of soil, not only on the shipyard site, but this site too, and that just takes time to settle. And so from an engineering perspective, they're hoping to put a shovel in the ground this fall. Impact 7 is going to have, the mayor alluded to this one, they're going to have a development agreement in front of our redevelopment authority, hopefully in April. This is a massing that shows the type of density that they can achieve. I look forward to seeing some renderings, which I would imagine would come with the development agreement. But this is the site of the former Badger Sheet Metal property. And so this will be another 238 units. On that site. And you can see the pedestrian greenway that goes into the shipyard area there, and that'll connect all the way back to Seymour Park. That used to be the site of an old slough. And back 100 years ago when they filled in that slough, they weren't as considerate then as they are today with making sure that you have soil stability. And so we're trying to find creative ways that we can make sure that that water flows and that you mitigate some of the flood impact that we've had down in that area. This is the former Bangkok Garden building. And so those owners wanted to retire, Bangkok Garden and Mikey's Pub. They sold this particular property to an investment group, and housing doesn't always come in big chunks. It's not always 225, 238 units, but this building is going to see probably about $1.5 million facelift. You'll see commercial tenants on the ground floor, including this cafe tenant on the end, to be determined. If you're looking for a space, that it's going to be available. But this will be 8 units on the first floor, and that's been a big priority of ours as a district, is how do we get these above storefront units renovated, these spaces that have been mothballed and vacant for years, and there's a number of buildings like that in the district. We want to see them invested in and activated again. And so with that, you have 231 North Broadway. These are some very early renderings. There's some more, but I wanted to show this to you because housing doesn't always just happen overnight. Right? You've got your projects that you're public with, you've got things that are in the pipeline. This is what I would call a pipeline project, and the owners of this were okay with me sharing this. A lot of work to do on this one yet, but if we can take that second and third floor and get some residential restored back there, that would be great. Same with 402 Dousman Street. Again, second and third floor. I mean, look at the third floor. Right, they got cinder blocks in there. There was no intent to ever do anything with that space when those blocks were put in. And so to have somebody taking an interest in wanting to restore this building is really exciting for us because that building's been empty for a while. Of course, General Capital, this is another one that's been in flux. We've been working with them very closely. This is the housing development that was proposed behind the public market. A little bit of work to do there yet. Housing is really hard right now, folks. When rates go up, construction projects stall. And so you have to get really creative with how you build these capital stacks to get things to move forward. And this was announced a while ago by the Barson Corporation. This was more on Northern Broadway. So there's no development agreement, no planning option in place with this. But again, it's a vision that the property owner down there has for some parcels. And so we thought it would be worthwhile to share with you because he did share this publicly a while ago. Okay, shipyard project. This, of course, is the southern end of our district, right at the base of the Mason Street overpass, on land that the city owned for 40 years. It is finally under construction. And so, again, hard our large-scale development is really, really hard. And this project, originally, City Council authorized $10 million to this. We're currently seeing it. This is probably going to be over a $20 million project where things are moving. So right now, phase one, as you can see, the tractors are out, the bulldozers are out. And they're doing kind of what we call the perimeter investment. So you think about the promenade, the path, the fishing pier, all of those things that face the water. And so that is expected to wrap up sometime this summer, and then phase one will be complete. Phase two is going to be driven largely in part by a $5 million National Park grant that the city wrote. Matt Buchanan in particular wrote that grant, and that is a huge boost to make something really exciting happen here. And they're going to do more of the fun amenities. So the Great Lawn, the dog park, the urban beach playground, splash pad, all the stuff that's kind of in the guts of the park that's going to hopefully attract people. Phase three is really the commercial plaza. That's the shipping container park, and that's what you see. It's a rendering on the bottom right-hand corner there. I threw some the box yard. This is in Tulsa. You can see how these things interact and create really unique custom spaces, but more importantly, a destination where people want to go and visit. In the upper right-hand corner there is Fort Collins. They've done a really great job. Fun story, went to Fort Collins, was that 2 summers ago? And as we were walking through there, all of a sudden we hear someone say our names. From the background is Andrew Fabry, who owns Badger State Brewing. He was there with his wife, Megan, just enjoying a cocktail. So we ran into them in Fort Collins by accident. So this here, again, just the site of the shipyard, so that you can kind of see where that slough, that inlet, that's where that slough used to start. So you can see where the shipyard is. Where it says breakthrough, that's obviously an old plan, an old diagram, but that's where merge urban development will be. And then I showed this last year. This was an EPA corridor plan. They helped us do this. That shows some massing and some blocks of development. Every part of our district deserves investment in time and development. It's just what occurs in the north is different than what occurs in the south, and is different than what occurs in the center. So this is what the southern end of our district looks like. So you'll see the mass blocking for Impact 7, for merge up on top. But then this is the type of development and the scale of development that you'd like to see within those areas to make the taxing kind of play out in terms of your TID districts. Okay, we're going to hit on this quickly. This is Light Park. We're working on a plan with the city. This is a partnership to make some renovations to Light Park. This is the site plan that was approved by City Council. Still a lot of work to go on here. ISG is the engineering firm of record on this. But you get a sense of how can we reimagine the use of that space a little bit more so that it's programmed and it's more active and doing some different things, whether it's a concession stand, a pavilion. Obviously regular programming is really important. Most people aren't aware of this with Light Park. This is the city-owned portion of the park. When you look to the north or the upper right-hand corner of your screen, that's where that wide open part of the park is. That's privately owned. The city does a lease on that every year, but that means the city's not going to make financial investments into that area, of course, when you're only leasing it. So that's why this site plan only focuses on that portion of the park. Okay, we're going to wrap up here now with the public market. This is a photo, actually, we did soft bids with our contractors. It's been a year since we went public with this. In an ideal world, we wouldn't have gone public when we did, but our hand was forced a little bit because we were going to be on some public agendas, and so if we didn't talk about it and control the narrative, the media certainly would have. So there are a couple of phases that we're working on right now. The first is architectural engineering and design. Grafe has been our partner on this. And so they're doing a lot of the engineering work. They subletted the architecture work out to RHG, who is based out of New Jersey, who specializes in these types of projects. So we're really excited to get their expertise into this. We're doing some environmental testing. As part of this overall plan, we're going to do some streetscape enhancements, and we also want to talk about the restoration of the street grade. So when you're behind there and you see how Chestnut Street and Hubbard Street get all broken up, so parts of that street were vacated. So we're having active conversations about what does it look like when you restore parts of that street grid. And it might have to be phased over time, but there are certainly some pieces of it that we think we can do right now. So this is what this building looks like right now. Not this very moment, but broadly speaking, there'd be snow out there. But this is, I want to show the evolution. This stuff, again, doesn't happen overnight. So this is what the building looks like now. This was the first version of this plan when we started talking about this. And then when we went public, it evolved into this. And this is brand new. You're going to get to see this now for the first time today. This is where we are at today. So as you can see, we've worked with our stakeholders. We've taken a lot of feedback from a lot of people, and we've allowed this design to be very fluid and to evolve into something different than what was first imagined. And so we really want to thank our stakeholders for getting us to this point. This is an exterior rendering. We're working on some interior renderings as well, but this is, it gives you a sense again of kind of what this space can look like. Now, does it mean it will look exactly like this? No, right? This is a start, but we're getting closer and closer, I think, to what the final product could look like. One of the things you'll note here is on the street front, we're trying to activate that. So much like when you go down to Milwaukee, they have a really nice outdoor plaza and patio. Think about all these windows on the ground floor that can open up and service people there in addition to servicing people within the space. We really want to get some good seating. We've talked about making this a 10-month-a-year space. So we're talking about sort of the heating that goes into the sidewalks as well as heating up above, that snow melt system really that can help make this space more attractive. This is the first floor plan and how it's evolved. We've got anchor tenants, obviously on both ends, some different pods of vendors, different styles. This is 28 different spaces. Milwaukee Public Market, by comparison, has 17. Now, does that mean we'll have 28 tenants? Not necessarily, because folks could, in theory, take more than one unit. The construction process could take a few turns. But we're also trying to incorporate first floor seating. Most of the public markets that we talk to, we say, if there's one thing that you would change, what would you do? They all say, I wish we had first floor seating. So we're trying to incorporate some of that into this. This is what the second floor could look like. So of course you'd have overflow seating on the second floor, an event space, a demo kitchen that could be used for like cooking classes. We've talked with a few partners on what that potentially could look like, as well as sort of that space on the other end, which would be, we've kind of labeled it like a membership space, a Delta Sky Club, a co-working space. But the idea is that it's activated and programmed, attracting new people into the space every single day that would make purchases while they're there. So this is kind of like your top-down view. That green building is where the proposed housing development would be with the parking structure, because I know that gets brought up a lot. And so we want to talk about engineered parking solutions. And again, parking isn't just a magic wand that you wave and solve. There are some really, really smart people that have gone to school for a really long time who understand this topic. And you can see, I just wanted to throw these images up as an example. You can see all the squiggly lines that are on here. This was even something I wasn't even aware of. These are like, they test out turn radiuses of different size trucks to determine what can actually fit in there so that they can engineer the solutions around that. And so, you know, everything from that to understanding what does it look like if you put a layer of parking below, what does it look like if you put above. The reality is with where the housing market is right now, we don't think the housing is going to be able to come along at the same pace. So we're going to actually, what our plan is to engineer the parking right now so that it's almost like a pad ready, and then your housing unit can just go on top at a later date. But we would expect that you would ultimately see a 6 or 7 story building back there because several layers of it would be parking. And what I wanted to do is show this image from the housing developer that we've been working with. Do you see in the middle there the staircase? Right? Parking doesn't have to be gaudy and ugly. You can discreetly disguise it so that it's both functional, but also doesn't disrupt your streetscape view and allows you to still keep your street front activated. So right now we are also working on the capital stack. We completed our feasibility study and that came back looking really positive. We have secured soft bids from our contractors. Essentially, we wanted to say, do we think this is going to cost what we think it's going to cost? And the answer was yes. So we're right where we need to be on that. We're currently working on some folks with naming rights. As the mayor alluded to, the city has been an ARPA grant partner. We're working on a community development impact grant during the next fiscal year of the state. Really exciting. We have a preliminary award, actually not award, we'll call it interest. It's Chelsea in our office, she said it's more than interest, but it's less than an award of new market tax credits. But this is a really substantial piece of our capital stack. And so we do have a CDE that's very interested in awarding new market tax credits to us on this project. And then we are currently assembling our capital campaign team. And then we are willing to look at some debt options, particularly on the parking structure, because that's generating income that can service that debt. Ideally, we won't have to do that, but it is an option within the capital stack. We're also working on tenant recruitment as well as relocation. We do have existing tenants in that building that have various terms on their leases. And so some of them will burn off more quickly than others, but those are ongoing conversations. We've always said to our tenants, we want to get you into a better position than where you are currently right now. And if we can't do that, we understand why it doesn't make sense for you. So we have to continue to be very diligent in that work. We received over 60 plus interest forms from folks who wanted to be in the market. That just blew us away, beyond our expectations. Now that said, we are still accepting applications because not all of those applicants will be a good fit. We have some letters of intent engaged with tenants. We're going to have hopefully a press conference coming up later in the year. When I say later, maybe like May, to make some additional big announcements. One of them that we held was this diverse business assistance grant. That was about $1 million award from the state that's going to help us recruit tenants, not only in the public market, but for the district as a whole. It provides support and micro grants for minority-owned businesses, and it's really going to bring in more of that cultural flair that we'd like to see within the facility. And this just gives you a little bit of a project timeline. This is if all the dominoes fall right. And if there's one thing you've learned about some of the development we've talked about, they don't always fall right. So there's a disclaimer on there, subject to revision. That is by design, and this project can change on a dime. And so we want everybody to be very cognizant of that. This type of development is really, really hard. So we just ask that you be patient with us through this process, and we're committed to it. On Broadway did buy the building on April 1st of this year. So as our board member Garrett, who has been very active on this project, always says, something is going to happen because we're not going to just own a building. So it's just we have to let the process occur. Okay, so with that, I get to turn it back to Barb.
Wow, thank you, Brian. It is really an exciting time to be in our community. So thank you so much. I also want to acknowledge Jeff Burkus is here, and so we know development is happening on both sides of the river. So Jeff, thank you so much for your involvement as well. It is now, let's give Jeff a round of applause. Just to wrap up the program, I want to introduce to you our outgoing board members. Avi Burke. Avi is a very valuable member of our board for 2 years, and his expertise in particular, being a lawyer, we obviously needed that, so we appreciated it very much. He was very crucial to our organization. Peter Nugent. Peter served on our board for 6 years. He's very well respected, as you all know, in our community, and served several years as an officer on the board of directors. Gail McNutt. Gail served as our board president for 2020 through 2022. She has now transitioned to our past president. She'll be a great mentor to me over the next 2 years, and we are so grateful to keep her on our board of directors. Now, I do want to introduce to you a member of our on-Broadway team, Quincy. Quincy is going to announce the rest of our volunteer awards and the prestigious Volunteer of the Year award. And please help me welcome Quincy Fossbender to the stage.
Good morning, everyone. Like Barb said, my name's Quincy Fossbender, and I'm the program manager here at On Broadway. And having this role, I've had the honor to really get to know closely and work with all of these lovely individuals I'm about to recognize today. So I'm very excited for them to get their awards. We're going to start today with the 50-hour award recipients. So as I call your name, please come up to the front, and Betsy will give you your award, and then I'll just ask that everyone holds their applause until the end, okay? So first off, we have Kristen Hubble. Kristen has been a devoted volunteer since before I even joined the team, and I have thoroughly enjoyed my time working with Kristen. She is absolutely wonderful and always ready to help me out no matter what. Even on short notice, she's ready to pick up a volunteer shift. So we thank you for that, Kristen. Next, we have Julie Charles. Julie is one of our core members of the Farmers Market on Broadway beer tents. She only missed a couple markets this season, and I'll tell you, we all noticed when she was gone. She brings a lot of great attitude and is always willing to help out whatever is needed. Julie also helped out at a lot of Ignite markets, Winter Wine and Beer Walk. She has been an excellent addition to our team. Next, we have Susan Cervais. Susan is always a pleasure to work with. She brings a great attitude, and we really appreciate her devotion. She even dressed up in full costume for Fall Fest this past Halloween, wearing a full-on toucan costume to let the kids into the bouncy houses. So I'm sure she made quite a few kids' day. Next, we have Chris Speckert. This season, Chris has really stepped out of his comfort zone and volunteered for a lot of new things that he might not typically do, such as painting the benches and trash cans for me this spring during the Mural and Busker Festival. He also held down the pop-up stop during the Winter Wine and Beer Walk all 3 weeks, so we're really appreciative of that. Next is a board member, Ken Wachter. As a member of On Broadway's board of directors, Ken has been involved with the planning of of the new master plan site for Light Park. His expertise as a retired CEO of PMI Entertainment Group has been critical for envisioning a redevelopment plan that is aspirational yet practical. Next, we have Bob Tutt. Bob has been so incredibly helpful since he started volunteering with us 2 years ago. He is always willing to do the jobs that are a little harder to fill, like priming walls or trimming trees or setting up for events. He volunteers for all of the setup for Farmers Market on Broadway, and it's just so excellent to have. So let's give it up for all of our 50-hour volunteers. Next, I want to acknowledge our 100-hour volunteers. So these are the volunteers who have donated over 100 hours or more in 2022. Again, please hold your applause until the end, and I will have them come up as you hear your name. So first off, we have Ken and Fran Ravinsky. I'm going to talk about them as a pair, even though I know Ken could not be here today, but they are the husband and wife duo that you might recognize from our 2021 Volunteer of the Years, and they have really not slowed down since they earned that title last year. They helped at all 19 farmers markets on Broadway, setting up every single week. They've got set up down to a science, and it is always great to see their smiling faces on Wednesday mornings when we get to go set up. They also have been hugely helpful setting up all of our decor and the first impressions throughout the year. Next, we have Michael Brohagen. Michael did not miss a single farmer's market on Broadway this season, volunteering at all 19. He is always so helpful and knowledgeable, able to help me with all the newer volunteers that might not know the ropes as well. He also often volunteers with his daughter, Bethany, and it's just really nice to see volunteering used as a way to connect and spend time with those we love. Next is Jenny Lump. Jenny volunteered at every single farmer's market on Broadway this season as well, and she even went above and beyond as to stay after and help us tear down the event each night, which is incredibly helpful, and again, something that is trickier to fill. It's not one of those fun jobs that everybody wants to do, right? And she is so dedicated, so much so that even with 2 new baby boys at home, she's already planning on volunteering again this summer, and I would not have it any other way, so. And then lastly, for our 100-hour volunteers is Garrett Bader. Garrett has been an on-Broadway board member for 8 years, so he's no stranger to working hard for the Broadway District. But over the last 2 years, he has really went above and beyond. Many of the larger projects that you've heard about today would not be possible without Garrett, so we really appreciate all of those hours that he's put in. Let's hear it for those 100-hour volunteers. Okay, so we just have 2 more things happening. So we're going to talk about our Group Volunteer of the Year award, and I'm very happy to present that to Nicolet National Bank. I have endless good things to say about Nicolet. They volunteer all summer for us at the farmers market, and I chose these photos because it really shows the range of things that they do volunteering for me. They volunteer in the beer tent, and yes, they did make those shirts for their team, so they obviously use it as a team bonding experience, which is just another great way to really activate the volunteerism. And then also they got dirty with us at Spring Cleanup Day, so they helped us clean up the district last spring, so they really are a versatile group that is always willing to help me out if I have a need. So thank you so much, Nicolet. Okay. And finally, I'd like to present the Volunteer of the Year Award, which is going to go to Michael Brohagen. He cannot be here today, unfortunately, but we will get this to him. We chose Michael for this award because over the last 2 years working together with him, we have found that he truly cares about On Broadway as an organization and is dedicated to lending a hand whenever and however he can. This past year, he has gone above and beyond with helping us set up for Mural and Busker Festival all weekend, both days, volunteering in the beer tent both days, being present at all 19 farmers markets and Ignite markets, helping keep the fire going at the pop-up beer garden, volunteering on the 4th of July, and even braving the cold for Chris Kindle Market. So let's give it up for Michael. So thank you again to all of our volunteers. And now I'd like to introduce Brooke Hafes. She is going to give a final award for us tonight.
Thank you, Quincy. All right, hi everyone. I'm Brooke Hafes, the marketing director with On Broadway, and I have been given the honor today of announcing a brand new award. So this is an award that is inspired by its very first recipient, and we have named it the Broadway Impact Award. So this award is going to be determined each year through a staff vote. It's someone who goes above and beyond. Not only do they volunteer with us, but they're making real change in the Broadway District. So without further ado, our very first recipient of the Broadway Impact Award is Matt Buchanan. Matt is the Economic Development Specialist with the City of Green Bay. He is a fantastic grant writer. He has helped the city earn several grants to move large-scale development projects move forward. He is the project manager for the Shipyard project. He's won some big grants to help that project move forward. He's also been instrumental in providing insight on design and historic preservation within our district. A valuable member of the Neighborhood Association. He attends most of our ribbon cutting ceremonies, helping us welcome those brand new business owners to the district. All of that, and that doesn't even take into account, he's just a great human. He is kind. He's just that type of person you really like to have in your court. So he could not be with us today. He is enjoying the sunshine in Puerto Vallarta, but we were able to connect with him beforehand, and he has a little video for us.
Hey everyone, I'm down in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, getting a little too much sun, but I am truly there with you all in spirit. I am so honored to be given this award. I know I can speak for all my close colleagues at the city, Wendy, Neil, Mayor Genrich, really the whole community and economic development team when I say, we really see the On Broadway team and all of our bid partners as extensions of the city. We're so grateful for the partnerships that we have, and really we just love helping you create a more welcoming, vibrant, thriving community. It's truly special. So thank you very, very much. I will see you all very soon. Take care.
All right, if that doesn't make you jealous, all right, let's give him one last round of applause there. And we'll connect with him when he gets back and hand that award over to him. So at this time, people are going to come around with some baskets and start collecting those donation envelopes. If that giant block of cheese appeals to you to bring back to some coworkers or family members today, make sure you turn in that donation envelope for a chance to win that. At this time, I'm going to hand it over to Allie Tutt, our Director of Special Events.
All right, so as you guys have heard today, we are celebrating the 20th anniversary of the Farmers Market this year. We have a couple of ways that we're celebrating here at this event. The block of cheese has been talked about a lot today. Casey's over there carving it. He has a ton of scraps, so please help yourself. But we normally celebrate some sort of art form here at the event, and we thought it would be fitting with the celebration of the 20th anniversary to do a block of cheese, something that you can find at the farmers market. To also help us celebrate, we are partnering with a local brewery in the district, and specifically the brewery that has been at the farmers market from the beginning, which is Titletown Brewing. They are brewing up for us a specialty 20th anniversary beer. The beer will be a light Mexican lager that will be infused with different ingredients from the farmers market every couple of weeks. We need your help, so put on your creativity hats in helping us come up with a name for this anniversary beer. So as you can see, there's a QR code on the front up here. It's also on our social pages for you to be able to enter a submission. The winning person will have bragging rights of naming the beer, but they will also get market seasons worth of free beer at the market as well. So little incentive. The entry is open until Friday, March 3rd. So just something to think about. Finally, the farmers market started out 20 years ago. It was really small, handful of vendors. It was just on Hubbard Street, and it truly has transformed into one of the largest markets in our state. The market is an incubator of small businesses, which is something that is evident right here in our district and is truly an economic driver of our region. Proceeds from the market through sponsorships and vendor fees are really what allows us to sustain as an organization and to be able to invest in the vital areas that Brian talked about forever today. Here's a video. That was nice. Here's a video produced by our friends at Shift Visuals to really acknowledge the importance of the market as we celebrate 20 years of making a difference.
The farmers market really started out 20 years ago with a half a dozen vendors.
The early days of the market, we would come with a little cooler and I'd be hanging out with my mom. Maybe 10 vendors at the most. I mean, it was sparse. Growlers turned into kegs and kegs turned into a beer trailer, and then it just slowly built up from there.
It's no doubt the farmers market on Broadway has contributed to the Broadway District being a regional destination. Not only do we see that through visitor statistics that come to visit the district, we see it by way of investment, not only public investment, but through infrastructure, but we see it through private investment. We have folks who've put shovels in the ground that have chosen the Broadway District and specifically referenced the market itself.
Over the 20 years, it's really the reputation of the event has grown. It's a place where people gather, pick up vegetables here and there, maybe grab a bite for dinner at one of the vendors, poke their head in a store. And it's really the variety of opportunities that make visitors enjoy a community. We know that visitors that come into our community are potential residents or potential employees. And so certainly, encouraging them to go to an event like the farmers market gives them a better feel for our community and how much fun we are and the kinds of things that we have that the locals do.
It continues to thrive and flourish as one of Wisconsin's largest farmers markets. In fact, it's consistently been referred to as the second largest market in the state, with approximately 10 to 15,000 visitors each week, serving over 100 unique vendors. To see the number of businesses that thrive because of their participation in the market, many of them have evolved into brick and mortar storefronts. That's the type of success story that you like to grow.
To us, being at a farmer's market is not only about our ability to sell our product, but it's also an ability to be able to connect directly with people in person. We saw the Wednesday farmer's market as an amazing platform and ability for us to be able to do that. And in fact, it absolutely was.
I can't imagine starting a business like mine without going to where thousands of people are walking by where you can talk to them about whatever you're selling or making.
When I started doing the farmers market, I look back at my books and like a good day was like maybe $100. I really built up my sales since then, and then I was finally able to actually open a brick and mortar.
I thought in Green Bay people would only want to eat the things that they know, like their comfort foods, you know, like chili, hot dogs, burgers, and I was overwhelmingly surprised that people were willing to try new things. Food brings people together. It doesn't matter what part of walk of life you come from, good food is good food.
We consistently rank above the state average in terms of the percentage of our vendors that are farmers. Approximately 60% of our vendors are either processed or fresh foods.
Buying from the farmers market supports local and smaller businesses, and it also adds like competition into the economy. It is our main source of income.
I really enjoy when I go to the garden. I see all my stuff growing up. It looks very pretty and make me very happy when I see everything growing. Wow.
The market kind of creates this essence of a town square. And you think about how communities come together and the importance of social connections.
One of the extremely powerful things to me about building community through farmers markets is being able to have a representation of what truly is a community. It is what makes Green Bay.
You can host an event that's authentic, that people know that they're a part of, and that they feel safe and confident when they come to this event, that they know they're going to run into people that they know. We have all of these great farmers and all of these great small businesses and vendors that are here to sell their product. I think at the heart of it, people truly want to support their community members.
It's a great way to start a business. Where else can you set up shop, display what you have to offer, and have thousands of people walk past you? Where else can you do that? I would not be in the position that I am now without the farmers market. I can honestly tell you that.
All right, who's ready for May? I think we're all pretty excited for that with the snow coming. All right, to wrap up today, let's find out who the winner of our cheese sculpture is. So the girls went around, they collected all the donation envelopes. Thank you to everyone that donated. And the winner, I have it right here, is Julie Taylor. Awesome. So Julie, we will package it up at the end, put it in a box for you to be able to take home or to work or whatever. That pretty much wraps up our conclusion. I just want to thank all of our sponsors again. The event wouldn't have been possible without their support. Look inside your goodie bag that you got with the farmers market, Broadway, swag in it. There's also a bunch of stuff from our sponsors. There's a little sheet in there about volunteer opportunities. So get involved when you can, and thanks for coming.